will be greatly appreciated. Okay? I don't want to go over them because we only have 5 more minutes, but I want you guys to know that I have this and that we're pushing forward. Okay? If any of you guys want any extra information, let me know, and I can provide it for you guys. Okay? Chair, for the items today, I think I have 2 items that I didn't finish. I'm struggling with those 2 items. We can continue them, but we will also like to, let's continue those items. I got down to the T, the height of the buildings. I'm still struggling with the size of the buildings and with the fences. But with the height of the buildings for single family and for rural residential, I think we got it. But I'd like to present to you guys and see where we got with there. And let's continue the fences and the size of the buildings.
Daniel, okay? I'll send you an email because I came across some more stuff on the fences that I think need to be
I know there's more stuff on the fences. That's why it was a little complicated. And also on the size. I'm not completely 100% there yet.
The size of the fence?
With the size of the structures?
Structures, yeah.
And the architectural features needed for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Chair, that's what I have. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
And we're going to continue those to June 9th?
Yes.
Is that right? Is that next meeting?
I'm almost done, but I'm not comfortable with what I have.
Okay.
Sorry, I missed which ones are we continuing? Sorry.
5 and 6.
5 and 6.
Hey, 2 minutes. Do you guys have any questions with any of the items we have today? No? Okay.
Public service announcement. Tonight is the
Graduation.
high school graduation at 7:30, and I have a son who's graduating, so I may or may not be at 7:30.
I just want to be there for the fireworks, so.
They aren't doing the fireworks at 7:30, are they?
No,
9:30.
Oh,
9:30, 9 or 9:30?
we're still
Has to
there
be
at
dark,
9:30.
Todd.
If we're still here at 9:30, you can leave.
Thank you.
What are they doing at 7:30?
It's like an online, it's at least district-wide, it may even be statewide, but I think it's at least district-wide of just your speeches and
They were doing stuff like starting at 4:30 on today, weren't they?
probably, I just knew that.
Something over at Water Gardens and, yeah.
Listen, going up there and walking through and getting the phone and getting out there was the best graduation I've ever been to in my
Telling
freaking
Todd.
life.
I'm like,
That
dude.
Yeah, that was
That was the
interesting.
bomb. I'm like,
Loved
dang
it. Not having to fight the crowds to get down there and BYU.
I was gonna
to
say
sit
that.
there.
Through all the speeches and the musical
sounds like
numbers
heaven.
and, yeah.
It was the best.
Oh.
Son was a little disappointed because he didn't get to sit with his friends and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get that.
I get it too.
For me, it was awesome.
He'll be okay.
My son actually didn't care, he wasn't that bothered by it.
He'll be okay.
We did a neighborhood car parade.
So did we.
for all of
Ours,
us,
yeah.
a couple of them.
Yeah, we did that
So
too.
we sat out on our deck or our front yard and whistled and waved at them all, and
Yeah.
it was awesome.
They threw candy to our kids.
They threw candy at the kids.
Yeah, and we're like, yeah, this is the only parade you get to go to this year.
This is it for.
Which again is another great thing because I'm not a fan of parades.
I just saw my friend just posted that they've canceled the Boston Marathon.
Oh, really?
They did. They
What
pushed
was
it
the
back
date?
and then they canceled it.
September.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, really? So I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Not that I ever would run in it because I don't run, but
But that's
It's
too
still
bad for those that do.
it's still sad.
Now they can go run their 26 miles somewhere else.
I know. I'm like so sad because this was my year, you know.
My fault for Lisbon, I can't do this week.
You what?
My wife and I were going to Lisbon in July, and that got canceled. They've been holding off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were supposed to go to California after my son's wedding. We just pushed that off till August.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see if we get to go.
See, and I was looking at that and walking, I registered my trip, so I was kind of getting ready for the fish, but I don't think that would have required. I don't think they just wouldn't let, at this stage, they're not letting people in
Mm-hmm.
from out of the country.
Let's do it, Todd.
Yeah.
All right, I have 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. Let's see here. If we can, we'll go ahead and get started with the Pledge of Allegiance and opening remarks. Commissioner Clyde, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Sure. Commissioner Phillips, would you mind giving opening remarks? Thank you.
Please rise. Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity we have to convene and to discuss the issues before us. We're grateful for our community and grateful for the opportunity we have to live in this country and for the freedoms we enjoy. We're grateful for the protections we've received during this unusual time, and pray that those who may be affected by the virus, both economically and physically, will be blessed and benefited. And we pray for guidance tonight and ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Let's see, I'll entertain a motion to approve to approve the agenda tonight with items 5 and 6 being continued to the June 9th meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda with the continuation of items 5 and 6.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Phillips. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Any opposed? I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's staff reports.
I move that we approve tonight's staff reports.
Second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Still and a second by Commissioner Clyde to approve tonight's staff reports. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Are there any declaration of conflicts or abstentions from commissioners? Well, great. With that, we'll go ahead and we'll move into item 1 on the agenda. And item 1 is a public hearing to consider the request of Clay M. Liston for a 7-lot preliminary subdivision plat called Merrill Liston Estates Plat A on property located at approximately 900 West, 1100 North in the R17 single-family residential zone. Riley, are you presenting that one tonight?
Thank you. Item 1 is for a preliminary subdivision plat called Merrill Liston Estates Plat A, located at approximately 900 West, 1100 North in the R17 single-family residential zone. Here's a zoning map. This is the area that was rezoned to R17 last year. And then here is the aerial. So this plat originally came before the commission on February 27th of this year. And this is what was originally approved at that time. Since then, the applicant has decided not to move forward with lots 1 through 4 and lots 11 through 14. So they are now proposing approval of this subdivision plat right here. So everything has remained the same for all lots except for the ones that were located here for proposed lot 7. The dimensions and all other zoning requirements for lots 1 through 6 down here on this lower portion have remained the same, and they meet all requirements for the R17 zone and all other requirements for subdivisions. And so staff recommends approval. I don't know if you guys remember, but at the February meeting, there was some discussion about the storm drain or storm drain infrastructure for this plat. So there is a condition of approval that needs to be included in the motion, and that condition is a satisfactory and appropriate joint agreement between the developer and the city for the cost sharing of the storm drain infrastructure. At that time, Sean was here to answer all the questions that had to do with that. So if you guys have any questions about specifics, Matt is here to answer them. So that is what I have. Do you have any questions for me?
What changed from the original?
With the
The
actual
original
plat
plat.
or with the
Mhm.
applicant and his choices. So that may be a question for the applicant. From my understanding, he will move forward at a later time with the remaining 8 lots that were proposed with the original subdivision.
Okay.
But as far as lot size, street layout, everything else is the same, correct?
Yep.
Good deal. If there's no further questions for staff, if the applicant's here, they can come up and if you want to say anything, you can, but you definitely don't have to.
Unless somebody has some questions.
Yeah, what changed?
And if you want to come up to the microphone to answer that.
Now, we had originally spoke about doing it a phased plan. However, there was just some lack of communication between us and the Public Works and the development that it had to be proposed in a phased plan. So this is just a reproposal in a phased plan. The exact same measurements are there, nothing has changed, just the number of lots.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
This is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If anyone from the public wants to say anything, please come up to the microphone, or if they're watching online, please comment on the YouTube video and we'll get your comment in. We will wait just a minute, and Kara, are you monitoring the YouTube? No. Well, while they're doing that, is there any conversation amongst the commissioners regarding this? Any concerns?
Nope.
I think that's sufficient time. Kara, was there anything that came through? Okay, great. With that, if there's no further conversation, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation of approval for the request of Clay M. Liston for a subdivision plat called Merrill Liston Estates Plat A on property located at approximately 900 West, 1100 North in the R17 Single Family Residential Zone, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report and as modified by the conditions below. 1, street improvements will be required upon further development of the property. 2, a satisfactory and appropriate joint agreement between the developer and the city for the cost sharing of the storm drain infrastructure. And 3, that all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second it.
And we have a motion by Commissioner Coombs and a second by Commissioner Clyde. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries. We'll go ahead and move to item number 2 on the agenda tonight, which is a public hearing to consider the request of Roger Harding for approval of a conditional use permit for a joint parking use between a proposed office building on property owned by the applicant located at approximately 197 South Pleasant Grove Boulevard and the adjacent property owned by Pleasant Grove City located east of the aforementioned property in the commercial sales subdistrict of the Grove Zone. Daniel, are you presenting this one to us?
Did I just freeze the screen? Yes, I did. All righty, let's do something.
We adjourn?
Riley, could you please, let's see, what do we do? How do we log off?
He's frozen.
Do we want to shut it down and shut it back?
No,
up
give me
or
one
turn it back
second.
on
I'm gonna try it again, just from my side.
You outworked the computer, Daniel.
You know, before, when I used to present at city council, my past computer always froze. And it was, we have to wait like for 20 minutes or something like that to restart it. This one is way easier, and it's just gonna take us a couple seconds to be right there. Plus, are my planning commissioners more patient than my city council members?
Yes.
I think, Roger, it's a sign.
Say yes.
That was a rhetorical question. I'm not really expecting answers to that one.
I answered. I'm okay with that.
Lisa's the nice one. We'll let her talk.
Perfect. All righty. So, Chair, Commissioners, this is an aerial Google map of our beautiful city in the area of the Grove. I always, to locate myself, I use doTERRA. It helps me tons, okay, to figure out exactly where I am. These right here, and hopefully people can see me on my on YouTube, on the broadcast, by me moving this mouse. I think it's better, right, Riley? Okay, so right here is doTERRA. This road in front of it is our Pleasant Grove Boulevard, okay? And right here, kind of like in front of the Green Grove, we have this big area that right now is empty, okay? It's empty. How is that area owned? Well, this corner is privately owned, okay? And the rest, this area right here, is owned by Pleasant Grove City. What are we planning to do there? Well, we're hoping to do, it's a regional detention facility. Okay, it's gonna be a big facility for detention that we're gonna use, and we can give it a double use and maybe give it a park use. I don't know, most detention facilities sometimes, if the grading is good enough, sometimes they we're gonna put sod there and people can use that as a park. In reality, it's not a full functional park because we're not gonna have a splash pad, or we're not gonna have a lot of landscape or things like that, again, because it's a regional detention facility. But we can put some sod right there, and it can be used definitely for the public, okay? Now, having that in mind, remember that this corner right here is owned by a private entity, Mr. Harding, and he's planning on developing that land, okay? The idea that came to his head is, he would like to do some type of an office building, okay? Now, let me show you an image, which is on your staff report, but it's gonna help us out now to see what we are proposing, what the applicant is proposing. The zone where this is located is in the commercial sales sub-district of the Grove Zone, okay? Again, that's the property right here, and you can, this parcel map is a little messy, but again, this triangle right here is what is privately owned by Mr. Harding. Mr. Harding has the idea again of coming with an office right there. This is a conceptual plan. Let's keep in mind that this item for tonight is not to approve a site plan, so we're not going to talk about the site plan. It's a conditional use for a joint parking facility. Now let me explain this to you guys. This area right here, again, is owned by Mr. Harding, and he's thinking about a 3-story office. Now, in today's planning ideas, you can build or you can park in a commercial zone. Simple as that, okay? That idea in some places is going away, but here in Pleasant Grove, and instead of Utah, pretty much, you can build what you can park, okay? In order for Mr. Harding to build a 3-story office right there, and when we're talking about a 3-story office, we're talking about approximately 38,000 square feet of commercial uses. If we applied our parking ratios that we have right now, we will need for that office a total of, let me go back to the numbers.
125.
125 parking stalls, okay? 125 parking stalls. That's what is needed, or what our code requires for this for this square footage. Now, it's interesting because, as you guys can see, there's no way they can fit 125 parking stalls in there. So, what Mr. Harding, he already came and talked to City Council. They haven't approved anything yet, okay? But he came to City Council, and City Council said, yeah, we're interested on hearing a little bit more of what's coming. So the direction we got from City Council is look into this a little bit more, work with your planning commission, see what you guys come up, and then prepare some plans and bring it back to us. That's why we're not working on a site plan right now. We're working on the preliminary parts of that. Parking is a big issue right here. So what Mr. Harding proposed is, and again, this is an issue that he's solving right now with the City Council, and he's gonna work with them on getting into an agreement with the city where he will, again, I don't have the full information right now, and it's again something that is going to be worked with our city attorney or city manager, and they're going to work exactly on the details of exactly what the applicant will have to come up with improvements. But so far, it's like he will build improvements along Pleasant Grove Boulevard, okay? Purchase a tiny bit of city's property, which is this triangle right here, and build all this parking and possible, I don't know, that's a conversation that we need to take any further, a couple of things around here, but in order to do that, Mr. Harding is requesting to the city council to be able to come up with a joint parking agreement where he can use some of the parking right there in this area to complete his requirement of 125, okay? Have we done something like that? Yes, many times. We have done something like that, not between the city and a private, but we've done it, for example, with residential and commercial uses. We've done it with two different commercial places together. Now, we're not here again to discuss what's fair and what's not fair for Mr. Harding to build, okay? That's a conversation he's gonna have. What we're here to discuss is if in the event that city council gives us a thumbs up on this, what ratio of parking are we gonna apply to that project? That's what we're having right here, the conditional use permit for a joint parking agreement, okay? So, let's go back to the number of parking. Here's the situation. If Mr. Harding or the applicant needs 125, our code says that they can get into a joint parking agreement with a neighboring property if they provide at least 60% of the required parking on site. On site. Meaning that out of that 150, let me go back to this table right here, he needs to provide at least 70 stalls on his property. And then this 50, that's what he can enter into the agreement with the city. Okay? Now, based on those numbers, let's go back to this conceptual site plan that we're not approving right now, but it looks like he can work hard, and that's not a problem right now. It's going to be his issue, his problem, to figure out how he can do 75 stalls on his property. But he needs to provide 60% of those. 60% of the 125, which is the 75. Having said that, he will be able to use 50 parking stalls of the 66 that are going to be on Pleasant Grove property. Okay? Now, this is a very important thing that we have 66 parking stalls right here, okay? He will be able to use 50, leaving 16 stalls for the park or the facility at all times to be used for the park. Now, here's another caveat. Again, this is a conditional use. So the condition that the staff is proposing is that Mr. Harding will be able, or the applicant will be able to use 50 of those 66 stalls from Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. office hours. After that, all those 66 stalls go back to the use of the park, to the city. Now, here's an important thing. It totally makes sense because parks usually are not used during office hours. Parks are usually used after hours and on the weekends. Okay, now, as parks still get used during office hours, and we're still gonna have 16 stalls allocated just for the park. Just to give you guys an idea, I live in Vineyard, and I live right in front of that huge park that has a splash pad. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. That park, it's a regional famous park. I got people coming from Salt Lake, people coming from Spanish Fork to play over there. Now, that one has a splash pad. It has a, what's the thing that you get? You hang yourself and go, woo, a zip line. It has a zip line that I've tried multiple times. It has soccer fields. Soccer teams go and practice there. My soccer team practice right there. They have even, they built a hill. In the winter, people go, so it's a full functional park. They have tennis courts, they have basketball courts, and for 18 acres, the parking that they provided is 100. So, our city, for example, Lyndon City, the name of those guys, Cedar Hill City, nobody has requirements for parking. We just need to come up with a comparison. And based on that, we will have enough. 16 parking stalls is enough at all times. Plus, remember, after hours or when the park will be used the most, we will get to use the 66 stalls in there. Okay, so again, this is a conditional use for the allocation of those parking stalls. Planning staff recommends approval of the conditional use for the joint parking as long as, or with the condition, that those 50 stalls get to be used from, or allocated to the business from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. from Monday to Friday, leaving the rest of the time be used for the park, okay? That's what I have. Chair, Commissioners, you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I actually have a question real quick, Daniel. So I know we're not looking at the plan, but Caps European Auto, that's just right up there, they've already talked to, well, they were talking to Sean about the issue that their driveway, their turn-in is already kind of off from the apartments across the road. Does that affect them at all? Does the, because I mean, I see right here it says common drive approach adjust to align with drive approach across the street. So will there be 2 turn-ins right there?
No,
Caps European already has
yeah, it
one.
will affect, now this will be the entrance for them.
For Caps as well?
Mhm.
And so it's gonna be moved over so it's in line with the apartments? Because there's a median too, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it will be moved. Now, this is they're gonna keep the access, and we're okay with that.
Okay.
At the beginning it was, and this is just for information, but at the beginning was he proposed to allocate some parking stalls for them right here. But we cannot do that because legally, this area right here was kind of like not donated, it was sold for a minimum price, something like that, and the people who did it was put a clause right there that this land can only be used for park or for city uses, not for commercial uses.
So
Okay.
would Caps European have been notified about this plan?
They will, for sure.
Okay.
Again, this is a conceptual plan, it's just an idea.
No,
But
definitely
either the
understand.
entrance is right here or right there, it doesn't matter at this point. 'Cause-
Right, but what I'm saying is where he has it now, it's off-centered enough that because I bring my car in there and I've almost been hit doing it. So it's just off enough that it's
Sure,
not
but
like
again,
that?
if we move this one and we put it right here, it doesn't affect the parking, or the issue that we
Okay.
have right now. So it can be, this is what the idea is right now, but if that's not possible, it will stay on the same place. It doesn't affect the parking to where it is proposed right
No,
now.
I think if it's up to Caps European, he would rather have it moved over so that it is even across the street from those apartment buildings.
We'll have
So,
that conversation, we'll
okay,
talk about the site
perfect.
plan for sure.
Perfect,
That's a great question, though.
perfect, thank you.
What's the likelihood that the city would have built parking for this park if this weren't being proposed right now?
That's a hard question to answer. I think it'll be more for city council, but it's not in the plans for quite some time.
There's no plan for it to be any kind of a destination park, really more a retention pond with grass.
No, it's always been a detention.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, like
So it's
additional improvements,
the city has a master parks plan,
right?
and this identifies this property as a wetlands park.
Oh,
So they're envisioning boardwalks and that kind of thing. I actually had a question about that too, which was, it looks like a good chunk of this property might be wetland. Has anyone looked at that? That
Sure.
can impact, and that extends onto Mr. Harding's property, it looks like, just along the eastern boundary line, but the plans look like they're filling or removing the wetlands, and, you know, that's relatively difficult and expensive to do. Just maybe a heads up for the engineering department to take that into consideration as they're working on these plans.
For sure.
Daniel, what's the purpose of selling that piece right there?
For the applicant to be able to provide 60% of the parking on site.
I see.
Remember, he has to provide, the number escaped, 75? 75, right? And I think without that, he will be like a 70, so he needs 5 extra or something like whatever that is. Again, I don't know how he's gonna accommodate that. That's a problem he's gonna have to figure out later. Again, we're not working the site plan. I haven't even reviewed the site plan. I've seen it, but we haven't done an official review of this. We're just trying to figure out if we can fix the parking situation first. Okay, if you guys don't have any questions, just remember that we have the applicant here, and I'll be still here for any questions you guys may have.
Anyone have any other questions for Daniel before he sits down?
No.
Bill, thanks, Daniel.
Sure.
If the applicant's here, you can come up and present, or Bill.
Evening. My name's Curtis Miner, architect. This is Roger Harding, property owner.
He knows everything. I'm here to support him.
There were a number of questions that you raised that this isn't the right time to have the site plan conversation, but we could probably give you just 2 minutes of context so you can have a better understanding of some of the intent behind what we're proposing here. When Roger purchased the property and started looking at developing the corner, we recognized pretty quickly that the limitation, as it always is in these types of projects, was going to be parking. We also recognized that there was a large piece of property, the 4+ acres that the city owned, was slated to be a regional detention pond, but in talking with Marty Beaumont, that pond was not planned to be developed it wasn't even on the plan. They knew it was kind of part of the long distance plan, but there was no current funding or it wasn't on a work plan. So we had the idea, and thinking about it, Roger and I did, that maybe what we ought to do is try and assist the city in pushing that development along a little further, given that there's a lot of intensity just in terms of multifamily housing coming into this area. And if you really think about it, there's no place for them to go as far as an open play space is concerned. And so we're not proposing to develop the entire park, but we saw an opportunity here to improve a portion of the frontage along the south side of Pleasant Grove Boulevard, provide some additional parking stalls, and fix an alignment problem on that north access point that would provide a full movement access from the automotive place aligned with the place of the condos across the street, and avoiding the median. And then what we're talking about tonight, of course, is the parking agreement. But the broader picture is we're proposing to do a bit of work that would kind of get the city in a better position to develop the park at a lower cost and sooner, and it would allow the full 2-lane road northeast bound on Pleasant Grove Boulevard to continue from the Grove area into State Street. The only section of Pleasant Grove Boulevard that's actually not 2 lanes going that direction is this section right here. Mm-hmm. And by us having this improvement completed and dedicating the property to Pleasant Grove City, or to Pleasant Grove Boulevard, and completing the curb gutter, sidewalk, the parking lot, and the sidewalk at the back of the parking lot, that would allow that 2-lane road to continue all the way in. Finally, the wetlands. We have had a preliminary, in fact, we joint ventured, we shared in the cost of a preliminary wetlands evaluation on the property with Pleasant Grove City. We did identify some areas that are believed to be wetlands, although we have not had a formal wetlands delineation completed. I'm in the process of trying to contact the Army Corps of Engineers, which, as it turns out right now, is extremely difficult because they're all working from home or something.
It's always
I don't
hard.
know where they are.
Even if they're in the office, it's hard.
Yeah. So working on that, but the long-term idea is actually to resolve whatever we need to on Pleasant Grove property and on the Harding property to deal with the wetlands as they currently exist and get the city in a position so that the only thing remaining to do is the regrading of the property to form it into a detention area. The reason that the little pond there is actually shown in a solid line instead of dashed line. Dashed line, of course, indicates future development that would be completed by Pleasant Grove in the future, of course. The solid line, and the reason the pond is in the solid, is because that's actually where the primary focus of the wetlands is. There's actually an open little basin there that seems to be kind of the focal point of the wetlands. And so our thought is that we would likely need to develop that in some form to facilitate or accommodate that wetlands area. And then the remainder of it would be consolidated and piped along the eastern edge of the Harding property, western edge of the Pleasant Grove property, to an entry point into the storm sewer system that is at the south edge of the property. Of course, all of that would have to be negotiated and worked out with the Army Corps, but just in preliminary thinking, that's what we think will work as far as dealing with the wetlands that are on the site. Any other questions?
Any other questions for the applicant? Nope.
Chair, and just for the record, I really, really appreciate the background. Just, let's make sure it's for the record right here. At this point, we're not deciding what will be built by the applicant, what will be built by the city, or a site plan.
Right.
But I appreciate that.
I mean, I do appreciate the background, because, I mean, I think we should consider what's possible. And, I mean, we're obviously not approving this site plan by any means, but,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
we recognize that. The reason, like I stated before, for the background is because we wanted to just kind of give the broader view of the potential that we saw here to do a joint agreement that would solve some problems for both the Harding property and for the city. You know, it's just as easy to go on a piece of property and just do an individual on the property, solve everything, sort of a development, but that leaves the city with a bunch of unresolved issues here. And we saw an opportunity to be kind of cooperative in how both properties develop. So,
Thank you.
okay, sure.
Thanks. This is a public hearing. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing if anybody has any comments. And again, if you're joining us via YouTube, please post your comment and we'll read it out loud. And just given that unique circumstance, I think we can continue with our conversation up here. And if any comments come in, please let us know, Riley. Are there any comments or concerns from the commission?
Seems fine to me.
My only concern, and eventually they'll figure it out, is cost of development here, upkeep with what is Pleasant Grove City property, and would we have put in 75 stalls at a park like this?
Well, I was imagining that they would need to work out cost sharing of maintenance
Yeah.
and snow plowing and all of
So
that
that'll
as
be
part
for-
of the agreement.
Another day, but
Site plan.
But just as we're speaking, Chair, our city attorney is working on that development.
right, and fully understand that. It's just,
Yeah, what would the city have done on their own?
yeah. And is this an improvement to what the city would have done?
Certainly speeds it up, even if it
That's
isn't.
what I was just gonna say,
better.
does this kind
I
of force
mean,
the city to go
anything.
faster on what they're
It
gonna do
might.
there now?
With what money?
That's why I'm asking.
I mean, that's the other concern is, it might,
Yeah,
but
just
this
get
could
an
also
empty
sit
field now.
there like it is for 20 years,
Right,
but
that's
with
kinda what I'm
parking
wondering.
spots for it.
At least there's the economic benefit from the
Right,
Harding property.
right, yeah.
Even
Well,
if the
and
city does sit.
It solves a road problem too, as
Yeah.
they
Right.
mentioned, that it, you know, that it allows the road to be widened to provide space for pedestrians and cyclists, because it's not a safe stretch of Pleasant Grove Boulevard right now if you're going that direction.
It's
Cleans it
very-
up-
it's a
cleans
very
it up,
awkward
too.
Does
stretch.
do a
Very
little bit
awkward
of cleanup
stretch.
on it, so.
More people to buy Jersey Mike's and Starbucks
And get their haircut.
and get their
Mhm.
haircut and their tats removed.
Chair,
yes.
I have a motion if you are
Well,
ready.
Let's just
Well,
make
we
sure we
have to
don't have
close the
any
public
public
hearing.
comments.
She's
No?
got nothing
We'll
coming.
go ahead and close the public hearing, and, yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. I move the planning commission approve the request of Roger Harding for a conditional use permit to allow joint parking on the property located at approximately 197 South Pleasant Grove Boulevard in the Grove Zone Commercial Sales Subdistrict, and adopt the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report as modified by the conditions below. 1, the proposed office use may use the neighboring parking facility for the future public park in the amount of 50 spaces, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. All on-site parking for the parking will be available at all other times, including evenings and weekends. 2, all final planning, engineering, and fire department requirements are met.
I'll second.
Deal. We have a motion by Commissioner Clyde and a second by Commissioner Phillips. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Good deal. Motion carries. Thank you. All All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 3, which is a public hearing to consider amending City Code Section 10-9B-7-F2, single-family residential height considerations for necessary structures, eliminating the conditional use requirements and modifying the qualifying provisions for the height of accessory structures in all the R1 single-family residential zones. And we've had considerable discussion on this in the past, and we did last week as well. Daniel, I think you're going to present this tonight.
I'm gonna check out, if that's all right.
Yeah, we still have a quorum, so, yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to everyone who graduated and didn't have a chance to party while as they should, huh?
Empty nester.
So that's what you're really going to party right now. Yeah,
You think
yeah,
it's
we
an
know,
empty nester.
yeah.
We have our own empty nester parties now.
You're not empty nesting, Dustin. You think it is. You hope it is.
Okay. Chair and commissioners, we have exactly what we need, right? 4 to have a quorum. Alrighty, Chair, commissioners, this is, let's talk about height of buildings, okay? Of accessory buildings. Let's talk about that. Like I say, maybe we have beat this, how do you say that? Beat the dead horse to? how do you
Beat the
say
dead
that?
horse.
Beat a dead horse, but I think it's important that we go over one more time, just to be clear, everyone right here. So right now, if someone wants to build an accessory structure, and actually I'm gonna talk about, Chair, if you allow me, item number 3 and 4 at the same time.
Sounds great.
They're for height structures, they're just in different zones. One is for the R1, single family, and the other one's for rural, RR, rural residential. But anyway, so, I think Commissioner Steele was here at the time when this table was created. This table was created, it was kind of like a staggering situation for the height of accessory buildings. And we're talking about SHEDS, that's a word that is hard for me to say. So
Sheds.
that one. Workshops, garages, that's what an accessory structure usually is, okay? And what do we have right now? How our code is written right now? It's just bringing memories from college, a couple of words that I couldn't say, that one, and there's some other ones. We'll get into that discussion later, but let's go on this again.
Was one of them, will you go on a date with me?
Oh, ouch, ouch.
I have problems with that one as well. So right now, if someone wants to build an accessory structure in the backyard, and right now we're only going to focus on the height, and someone wants to build that at a 12 feet height, okay, 12 feet height. It comes to our front counter, and my front counter people take it. Riley reviews it. She checks the elevation of the building, and then we say, hey, it's 12 feet. We check that it has 3 feet, mark it, check on other things, and approve it. Same if the structure is 14 feet, we make sure it has 5 feet from property lines. We check it and approve it, and so on, until it hits 18 feet. If it has 18 feet and we make sure it has 9 feet from property lines, we're okay. But again, if it goes to 19, then we have to stop them and say, hey, you know what? Now you need a conditional use permit. What happens is that now the applicant applies. The applicant has to wait because we have to notice it. Usually it takes us a month to a month and a half. And what we do is we bring it in front of you guys. We present it. And in the 4 years that I've been here, and in the 8 years that I have a career, I've never seen nobody denying the height of a building up to 25 feet. Okay, so we say yes, but what we said is just make sure now that you have 10 feet of a setback. And then what happens, and in all honesty, what happens is that we send the notices, because it's a public hearing. It has to be approved at a public hearing. It says right there, shall require a conditional use permit approval at a public hearing, which we get the neighbors here thinking that they can't stop it or influence it. And by influence, I mean like cut it in half because they don't like the view, they don't like the color, they don't like the materials. It's simply they don't like, in reality, they don't like the mass of the building, and then it creates a conflict because we already have our regulations. We say, hey, up to 25 feet, you can go right there, and you just need to give me 10 feet. So that's what we do, and then the applicant waited, and then he gets approved, and he gets his building permit. Now, I'm trying to stay away from conditional uses, and I've been trying to do that for 4 years, right? It just takes some time. It really takes some time. We have tackled zones, and we have eliminated a bunch of conditional uses and make them permitted with conditions. With qualifying provisions. So that's what we're trying to do right here. Now, this is the proposal right now, okay? This is the proposal. I'm gonna show you guys a couple of images. There's a reason why I'm a city planner and not an architect. These images are very basic, but it will help us out to realize something. Single-story building is usually about, if we think about it, on a slope for a roof of 12 by 4, meaning that for every foot or for every 12 inches in length, there's a 4 in rise, okay, which is the most common one, the average. We will have about a roof of 3 feet 4 inches, something about that. And if we think about of an accessory structure that is 20 feet wide and 10 feet tall, again, we're not talking about square footage. It could be, the depth could be way bigger, but what I'm saying is if we have something that is 10 foot tall, usually that's 1 story, consider 1 story, we're gonna have a building that is about 13 feet 4 inches. Okay, so when that one comes, obviously that's not a conditional use. It's a permitted use. Riley deals with those all the time. Now, when we go to a 2-story, that's why that 25 feet is right there. Okay, this is what happens when a 2-story building. Imagine also that you have 20 feet, and this is important because based on the length of the frontage, that's going to be the elevation of the roof, right? Because I mean, the more you have, the higher it's going to be because of the 12 run by height. Anyway, so if we do it like this, ask me questions if you have any questions. Please interrupt me at any time. A 2-story building, a regular 2-story building is going to have 10 feet on first story, 10 feet on story 2. Usually there's 1 foot of, how do we call that, the roof?
Floor joists.
I call it floor roof. For the floor roof space, all right? Which it gets to 10 plus 10, 20, 21, plus this 3 and 4, that gives us 24.4. So, meaning that we are allowing right now, at this point, a 2-story building as an accessory building in the backyard, as a conditional use.
Can I ask a question about that really quick?
Go ahead.
So in certain subdivisions, in certain areas, you're going to have CCNRs that are going to require a certain pitched roof. When they do an accessory building like this, and they've got to match the materials, do they have to match the roof pitch?
Of the CCNRs?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, but I don't care. I don't care about CCNRs. I review what I have in the code, and I can say, yes, this is approved. You go and fight with your CCNRs or your HOA if you can build it or not. But I will not allow anything bigger than 25. So if someone comes and say, hey, it's just that I need 2 stories, and then because of my CCNRs, I need to have a higher pitch, which is going to push me into 26, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but I cannot do that.
So all I'm saying is the code doesn't reflect anything to do with that, right?
No,
Just the overall height.
yes.
You could, for example, build a flat roof if you wanted.
Yeah.
Except
don't
for
know
you
if-
can't build a flat roof in Pleasant Grove.
But could you do it on an
No, you can. You
On
can
an
build a flat
accessory
roof.
structure?
Just in the commercial zones, you couldn't.
Right.
But in any residential
But
zone,
we're talking about R1 and RR.
R1, RR, yes, you can build flat roof if you want to. Now, is that your CCNR your HOA gonna let you do that? I don't know. That's
I thought
between
you had to have a
and
2 to
your
1.
HOAs. Huh?
I thought you had to have a minimum of 2 to 1.
No, that's in the commercial zones. And in the.
So residential, you can do flat roof.
Correct. Residential, you
You
can
can
do flat roof.
start building 1930s style houses.
It's modern homes
So-
is what it is.
So again, right now, if someone wants to do a two-story building with an average, an average pitch of a roof, they will be able to do it, right? They'll be able to do it. Now, right now, for a 2-story building like this, which is 24, now we're assuming that the main building is taller than 25 feet, right? Because if the main building is a rambler, and it's like 15 feet, then the maximum you can build is 15 feet, because the code says that, right? It can't, the accessory cannot be bigger than the primary. Anyway, assuming, because you can go up to 35 feet, assuming that the main home is 30 feet, then you can do that as a conditional use. Now, again, the main concern of the people that come here, they have all the right to come here and they've done it faithfully, is too close to my property. I wish it was pushed a little bit more. So what staff is proposing is clean up the language a little bit. I made an image to solve the corners, if you guys have any questions with that. But anyway, what the staff is proposing now is to write it like this, right here. So create a table and change the wording right here on height considerations. Now it will say, the maximum building height for accessory buildings is 25 feet, or the height of the primary dwelling, whichever is more restrictive. That word used to be in the table right here hidden, which was a little more difficult to see. Now it's right there. So that, boom, right, is the first thing that they know. The applicant needs to know that they can go maximum of 25 or the height of the home, whichever is more restrictive. That one was just move out for clarity. Now, in addition, the minimum setback from each property line for accessory building exceeding 12 feet in height should be increased by 1 foot. That keeps the same, but we're not stopping at 10 feet. Before you could go, 19, you could go to 20 and 10, 21 and 10, 22 and 10, 23 and 10, 24 and 10, 25 and 10. Now what we are doing or proposing is to keep the staggering part and eliminating the conditional use requirement and the public hearing requirement as well. So that's what is being proposed. I got to show you an image that I have right here. And I know we have a lot of questions about corner lots and things like that, and I got them all solved. That's a normal subdivision in our city, Pleasant Grove. That's a lot actually that is empty, okay? That's a lot that is empty. Side yards, this is an R18 zone. Side yards are 10, 10, 25, and 25. What I wrote right here, 25, is because on the last meeting we had a question that said, hey, can we put an accessory structure right here on the side? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Now, look at this, okay? Pretend that this is an accessory structure, this square right here. I didn't mean to do that. Give me 1 second. There you go. Pretend it's an accessory structure, okay? Right now, our setback that we're going to be requiring right here is 10 feet. So what does an applicant usually is going to do? They're going to do something like this, okay? And think about it. If you have 25 feet right here, meaning you can do an addition to the house, an attached addition of 15, and leaving you right here with the 10 foot. If you want to do a detach, you will have to be, because of the fire department regulations and our code regulations, you need to be 6 feet from the main building, and then you need to give me 3 feet right here, which is going to be complicated. In reality, you cannot do that in order to increase the size of the accessory structure. You're going to do it by 1 foot, because now you're going to have 6 right here, and 3 right here is 9. So instead of doing this, a 15-foot addition or garage is going to be only one. Instead of doing 15, it could be 16 now. Okay, so you don't gain a lot. So the way the code is, it's okay. It protects us from something like that. Now, if you do it like this, remember, because you have the 3 feet right here, the maximum height that you can go is going to be 12 feet. If you are a builder and you do it right here, and you give me the 10 feet on the side, you can go 35 feet. So by that, developers or builders that are smart are always going to go with an attached addition.
But
So
that's
that
only
was
if
just a
it's
question we had.
attached.
What?
That's only if it's attached.
If it's attached, correct. Correct, if it's attached. But that's why I'm saying, when you have a big area on the side, usually what you're going to do, what a builder is going to do, is to attach it to the building. Because if you detach it, then you lose the height, and you only gain 1 foot. That was just for a question that we had last time that got stuck in my head, and I look into that. Now, what is Go ahead.
Really random question. Could I stick an accessory structure in my front yard?
No,
Okay.
no, because the code is really clear on that part. I went over that and I checked it. Well, here's the thing. Your front yard, it's 25 feet. So if you put your home 80 feet and you want to put your accessory in the front and still respect that 25, yeah, sure do. But when we talk about front yard, let's keep in mind that I'm not talking about what's in the front, but I'm thinking about the 25-feet buffer that is required. So can I push my home back and then put a detached garage in the front? Sure, as long as you still give me the 25 feet. So, yeah.
Which would literally be the most expensive, stupidest thing to do.
Well, I know, but so if we didn't have the language in the code
Yeah.
respecting that envelope, then someone could stick a tiny home in their front yard and
Yeah,
rent it
that's what
out.
I was
and-
just
There
gonna
is
say, so
language
you
in the
can't
code.
put
There
that.
is language in the code, and the way it is, like I say, I'm 100% confident on this one because I went and review it. It's right here. Right here.
In a rear yard.
Rear
interior
yard,
side yard.
interior side yard, accessory building only.
Yeah.
So, and we have an area that says front yard and it's not allowed right there,
Yeah.
so.
Okay,
It
so
is there.
no
Believe me,
accessory
I-
apartments in the front.
Since you threw that curve,
Not that are detached.
Got
So
it.
you could, for example, have something over your garage that's attached to your house that
Right.
sticks out in front of your house, but
as long as
But
you
it
give me the
still has
25 feet.
to, then if it's attached, it still
No.
has to be 25 feet
25
back
feet,
because
yeah.
of the
25 feet back,
setback.
right.
Look at what this code is proposing, okay? This right here, this square, right here, it's a single-story building. So you can go 3 feet from property lines. You guys can see 3 feet right here and 3 feet right here.
That's
Now,
the back. That's the back of the house, right? The back of the.
yeah,
It's back a lot.
so,
And that's if it's under 12 feet tall.
exactly. Thank you, Chair. That's exactly what's on the
And you
code.
said a normal one would be 13 feet something inches, so it'd have to be at least 5 feet?
Yeah.
although.
Well, no,
if you-
that's for a single story that is gonna be used for an accessory home, like a single story. But you can do a normal shed that is
If you
8
buy a
or
shed
something.
from Home
Right,
Depot, it may
but
be
the
shorter than-
purpose that you presented that 13-something feet was that that's normal, was it not?
For a home, yes.
For an accessory home?
Yeah, because we allow accessory dwellings now
Right,
in the back, yes. But if you want to use it, I show what's considered a one-story building. But if you want to use it, for example, to put right there your
Lawnmower,
lawnmower and some tools and stuff like that, and you want to do a lower and a flat roof, that's okay.
yeah.
But if you want to do an accessory dwelling right there, that it will have the 10 feet, then yes, it will have to be pushed a little bit more. It makes sense, because obviously when you build a shed, hopefully I say it right,
You did.
you put it closer to the property because it's not that intrusive.
Yeah.
Once you build a home, a single-story home, then you go higher, then you push it back. Now,
So what's the idea behind having more restrictive setbacks on our accessory structures than we do on our primary structures?
that they can get closer to the backyard. They get closer to the neighbors.
Well, unless it's, I mean,
Because if it's attached, the maximum you can go, the closer you can get is 25 feet. So,
But it is more restrictive than the side yards, right?
Yeah.
A house can get within 10 feet of their neighbors on
and
the
be
side.
30-plus feet high.
yeah, that usually happens a lot because, in all codes, I'm imagining when this code was written for all the cities, they want more privacy in their backyard than on their side yards. Like people use their backyards more than what they use their side yards. So I'm imagining the side yard setbacks were dictated pretty much by the fire department and things like that. And the
Sure.
backyard was more for enjoying and things like that. So I think that's why they provide bigger setbacks on the back.
Well, but that's not what I'm asking. Why are we being more restrictive on why would we allow them to build up to a 30-foot or whatever our code allows for house within 10 feet of the side yard setback, but as soon as you hit, 19 feet, we start getting more restrictive on an accessory structure?
We're not getting more
Well,
restrictive.
then,
Well, we are,
so
because
he's,
we're making them push
You're
it
pushing the
back.
setback to 16 feet.
Yeah.
Right,
25
but
footer.
still, it's less restrictive than attached to the home and giving me the 25.
But no, if you're building a primary dwelling, right? I can go up to, what is it, 35 feet, 32 feet in Pleasant Grove?
35.
35
Yeah,
feet
35.
within 10 feet of my side yard.
Yeah,
So and so the issue then, Daniel, is not the rear setback, it's the side setback.
is that the one we're talking about, the side
Yeah.
setback?
So,
Okay.
for example, if I want to build my house right up to the property line, or, you know, within 10
The
feet,
build envelope.
yeah,
Setback, yeah.
then I can have a very tall one that maybe looms over my neighbor's backyard, right? Even though it's not the property behind me, it's the property next to me, it can still loom over them, right? Which is the issue that we're talking about with the accessory buildings.
Sure. It does, but not as, go ahead, let me finish.
Well, so, but if I wanted to build a shed in that same theoretical location, I have to keep it much farther away from that side fence than the house would be. Does that make sense?
A shed that will be,
So, can I draw this out, maybe? Just, do we have a
Basically, the
whiteboard?
accessory
you
building
can,
needs to be
do you
pushed a
think
little
that you
further
can use
than
that
the
one
main
and point,
house.
use your fingers on that? 'Cause I think the camera is
Yeah.
pointing right there. Yeah? Okay.
I don't like it.
So the house would be 10 feet,
Yeah, you're
right?
Correct.
Up to 35 feet tall. And imagine that, say, the 25-foot envelope is here.
Okay.
Okay, just so I want to build a shed here, closer to, but if I want to build a 17-foot tall accessory building, it has to be farther away from this fence than the house does, even though it's shorter than the house.
Then your
Yeah.
30-foot house.
Yeah.
And so it's more restrictive on the accessory buildings than it is on the houses.
Correct.
In
Cor-
that way, not
correct.
from the rear yard, but from the
Correct.
side.
Now, keep in mind that when accessory structures usually don't have the same, and we're gonna talk, again, this is subjective and it has to do with visual, don't have usually the same materials as a home will do. We even require, but that's for the size, only to have a 30% of a wainscot, meaning that the rest of it can be metal. So usually when someone built a home, they come with a better outside materials, if you want to call it that way. So that has also an effect on that one.
But I thought our
Yes.
accessory apartments had to be similar
Accessory buildings.
to.
It depends on
accessory
their,
building.
it depends on their square footage.
Up to a third of the coverage
So,
Correct,
but
up to
do
a
you,
third of
do you
surface.
hide a lot of that by that extra 6 feet that you're requiring? Because,
Well,
I mean,
that's-
if they build an
yeah.
ugly building up to 25 feet tall,
Right.
if it's 18 feet tall and within 10 feet, are you hiding it more by pushing it back 6 feet if they go?
Yeah. The plane is different. So the plane is different. We can keep it the same, but I guarantee the view plane is different. The more you push it back, the plane is different.
The more the
So
fence
the,
blocks.
the more,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, I get that if they have a fence.
which most of them do. But yeah, but that's the idea of behind of this having a fence. By pushing it more, it's less intrusive. That's the word that I want to use right now. Now, are we saying right now, yeah, sure, you can build a 25-foot without conditional use. And what the people are going to come and say usually is not, they don't care about, they will say, and again, this is based on experience, is too close to my property. That's what every single one is going to say. They don't have another argument more than that. Now, do we actually,
Are they still going to say that 16 feet is too close to their property? Are we actually solving that problem?
I think we doing our best to solve the problem.
Well, no, I know that we're doing our best, but
Yeah,
I don't think that being more restrictive in this way is actually going to solve
the
that
staff thinks it
problem.
does, yeah. I think so. I think that by pushing it farther, then the plane is different, and that's the idea of the staggering, that you go to 12, that you got 3 feet, but then you go to 13 and you go 4 feet, and so on and so on and so on. I've seen structures super close, 5 feet, and then you say 5 feet, and then jump to 10, and then jump to 15. And this one, we go 1 foot by foot. I think that was the purpose. I think we were part of that meeting when we were saying each foot tall, 1 foot farther. What's the idea behind that? That the bigger it goes, the more you push it on your property, and that's what and they were away with it. Does it completely solve the problem? I totally understand. No, I don't think so. I mean, people still might complain, sure. Do we want to complain here at the public hearing? It's up to us. The staff proposes no. Let the staff measure deal with that at our level, showing them that's the most we can do, and show the code and go with it.
I think the real problem is not that it's too close to the property, it's blocked my view. right? Or it's what I see.
Yeah, or
I see I see this big building next to me,
the
right?
other one we heard a lot was, it's shading my garden or shading my yard,
Push it,
right? It's
yeah.
changing the.
But by pushing it, that solves both of them.
And
both of those
I
problems.
don't have a problem as they go high, as it gets really high to push it, but I do not love the fact that we push it further than what the house could be,
Yeah.
Okay,
right? So if you've got if you're maxed out at a 10-foot, now I mean, this is all, the issue is some of the scenarios we're talking about here, honestly, your setback changes based off the size of the lot, right? Your side setback grows as the lot becomes bigger. And so, yeah,
You know, it's not, again, because I don't get that concept, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, boss, but, so if you go, the higher you go in here to reach the 30 feet, the 35 feet that you allow the home, that puts you right here, in case we will allow something like that, it puts you there at 25 feet, the same setback. So for 35, you'll be almost at the same setback.
But if we go back to your example and we attach it to the primary dwelling and say it's part of the primary dwelling, I can go up to 35 feet.
On the side, not in the back.
correct. Because then it's part of then it's part of the main structure, and it sits within all the setbacks that
So,
you have to build up.
and this example right here goes more with the back than with the side, but I understand now the side situation, but this is with the back. Again, if you attach it to the home in the back, okay, let's think about it, then you can go to 35 feet, but it also increases 1 foot right here on the setback, because now I'll be requiring the 25 feet if it's attached to the house.
Maybe a possible suggestion to solve this issue is to have, just like we have different setbacks for side and rear yards for houses, to have different setbacks for side and rear yards for accessory structures, where this table that you've got stands for the rear yard setback, the setback from the rear property line, but on the side property lines, you can go up to 25 feet
Gotcha.
at a 10-foot setback.
But if we take a look at this, and this is how codes are read, maybe we need to come with a different definition, boss. But let me go back to the map, because we're working under the impression, I'm gonna draw a line, okay? When I draw a line like this, okay, these lines right here are not side yards. Okay? Those, there you go. Those lines right here are not side yards. The same thing applies to the front yard.
Right.
Okay? When we have something like this, all this is my front yard, including this right here. These are still property lines, but these are called, this is the front yard. These right here, I think that we're working on the impression that these ones are counted as side yards. They're not side yards. They're part of the backyard.
Is it once you're considering that past the back of the house?
Correct.
I mean, that's fine, but a lot of sheds and a lot of things get built on side yards.
Well, people want to put them over there because they still want to maintain some yard themselves, right?
I mean,
So
nobody
it-
plays in
so
their
they, and also it
backyard or their
becomes,
side yard.
like, if
They
you
play in
have
the backyard.
16 feet on the side of a shed, I can tell you what's going to go there. A boat, a motorhome, or something
Right.
that they have outside, because it's 16 feet of waste.
Right.
Or just dead
Mhm.
grass or
Yep.
dead yard.
I mean, because
side
I'm
and the
thinking of my
back.
house, I have about 15 feet on the side of my house, and we don't
What's-
do anything there.
What zone are you in?
R18.
See, I think this, the other thing is whether, and this is kind of what I think Peter was getting to, I believe was where he's going, but R18, R17, R120s, they all have different sides and setbacks and front setbacks. Well, back setbacks. You end up wider on a half-acre lot, just for your build envelope.
Yeah, we only have three sets. We have the ones for R17, the ones for from R18 to R120, and then different one for R&R.
Right, so most likely, the bigger building is gonna be on a bigger lot, because they have more land to put it on. Right.
That one has way different requirements, because that one requires 20 feet from it.
On
and
an,
special.
on an RR?
An R&R, yeah.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that this ratio might be better based off those similar kind of setbacks. Do you
So-
think that's a problem?
Complicated to come up with some language to get something like that, yeah, for sure. We're gonna find tons of scenarios,
so-
tons of different scenarios, go ahead.
So if you move this back 16 feet and 16 feet, right?
Let's say.
What
like-
are we trying to accomplish? Just that the building is further away from the property line?
Yeah, that's it. That's the-
Just
that's the main purpose-
because of a view or because they
That's
feel
the
like
main
it's too
purpose of a
close?
staggering. That's the main reason for staggering. Now, what the chair is telling me, Chair, correct me if I'm wrong on this, and I'm gonna use this image. So what you're telling me is that you're okay with moving it from here like this, but not like this, correct? So,
Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't like that we're being more restrictive than we are on the primary dwelling. I don't see the reason for
so
that.
we will be more restrictive again for structures that are tall, the ones that we have problems, for everything that is taller than 18 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, fully understand that, understand your numbers there.
Sure.
You're still being more restrictive on a side yard than you are on the primary dwelling. You're being more restrictive for an accessory structure built on a side yard than you are on your primary dwelling.
Yeah, what he's really talking about is just the side. I have a
No,
side
I
setback at
totally
10
understand.
feet, but now I'm pushed over on this building to 16. I think what you need to do is maybe max the side setback out. Instead of continuing on up, once you get to a certain setback, you stop even though you can continue going.
But that's
higher.
how it is right now. That's how it is right now. I mean, that's another option. That's how it is right now. We have it at 10 feet, but again, this is not a side, this is the back, right? But we have it at,
Let's just say the side property line.
So the setbacks you're talking about on your table, that's just referring to the backyard setbacks.
Well,
Yes.
but it's
But
from
it's
any
not.
property line.
Right,
Right.
that's what I'm saying is,
So
you're
you-
talking like it's only from the backyard, but it's not. The way the code's written, it's from
From the
all.
side.
Because
So
technically
make
it
sure
is
you're-
the backyard.
Make sure you're distinguishing between yard and line, right? So Daniel is saying, these are the backyard setbacks, because it's behind the house.
Right.
But we're talking about the setback from the side property line,
Right.
not the side yard.
And in that code, it says
Right.
from each property
property
line,
line, yes.
not from,
Yeah.
So, but let's go back to this map and, for example, tell me what property, just based on that one, could build on the side. Like,
Well, and I think, Daniel, when you moved to the box, you were accurately representing the objection that.
right? Is that what,
Yeah.
that's the objection?
Yeah.
That you're okay with increasing that, with that setback increasing from the rear fence or rear property line, but not from the side property line.
right, because it's not more restrictive off of your rear property line.
So you're
than-
saying is
Yes.
that's okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
10 feet, whatever
Right.
the
All right.
setback is.
This right here is a corner lot, okay, this here is a corner lot,
Yeah.
okay, this here is a corner lot, but, so that doesn't apply there, but usually the home will be built right here as well. And people in these people right here, having this their front, this will be their backyard. So someone right here can still see the mass. I'm okay, I mean, I understand your position, that's okay, that's what we're here for, to discuss it. I just don't think that solved the mass problem.
And I
Are we okay with it? Perfectly fine.
think that Bobby Joe was the one who was particularly, Commissioner Blake, was particularly interested in continuing to increase the setback, when we had our group email about
The comments,
this.
yeah.
So it's kind of too bad that she's not here to comment on
I
that.
just think the best place for them always is in that back corner.
The shed.
Yeah. Any of those buildings, anything I think in the back corner, away
Agreed.
from everything.
I mean, if
is
your
that
yard
a personal
accommodates that,
preference?
my
'Cause
yard slopes off terribly in the back. I can't build a shed back there and have it be accessible. And
Well,
so-
I'm just saying in general, the best place. Now, that doesn't say you can't move it
So
forward.
the
I mean,
code,
mine's anecdotal,
the code
but
will require something like this right there.
I-
That's how it's written, something like that.
What we're talking about though is the height has to move it away. It
Well,
doesn't mean
I
that
know
it
that
can't
that-
be moved away. So if yours
I know that that's
slopes
what we're
off-
talking about,
yeah.
but I'm talking about on the side yard. So my side yard, my house is built so that I have it maxed out pretty much what it can do as far
Can
as
we,
side
can we take a look at your
setbacks.
property? And
Go
s-
for it.
Yeah, okay.
We had to pull up my house too.
You
'cause we
okay
have
with
these
everyone
right
knowing
around
where
my
you
home,
live?
And I'm on a corner.
Because this is a public hearing.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Do we have 3 people watching? Oh, nice. Solid. So I was right then. Yeah, okay, all right.
Which address?
Oh, 405 East, 1790.
45 East,
405.
405.
405 East, and
1790 North.
okay.
Yeah, you did.
So, and even with some of my neighbors there, you can see that too. And a lot of the houses in this particular subdivision did a lot of the same thing. But that side yard area,
This one right here?
right, I've got about 16 to 20 feet. I don't remember exactly what it is. That's all that's left right there.
From here to here?
It sure looks smaller than that.
It does, but it's not.
I think you need to send somebody out and measure that one, Daniel.
Well, that one right
Could
there,
you erase that,
and
please?
from the front of the house, yes, that's smaller. But once you get into what I would
Yeah,
consider the
I'm pretty sure
backyard,
from
but
here to
still
here
the
you got 10,
sideline.
and I see it goes
So
the
go to my
neighbor.
fence line on the side, up, close to the road,
Other way.
Closer up.
Other way, yeah, there.
right there. So that's a fence, right?
Yeah.
That fence right there is about 10 plus feet. So from there to where it angles back, you get out to about 16 to 20 feet, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
In that area. And if I wanted to build a shed there, that house right there, I'm pushing 30-something feet because it's on a slope.
If you wanna build a shed right here, you will not be able to do it.
Because it's the side yard.
Because, well, even how the code is right now, if you want to build it attached to the home, you will need to give me the 10 feet. But if you will want to do it detached, you will need to give me 6 feet from it, and then from your home, and then 3 feet from here.
Right, but if they had a little bit more room there where they could do that, and they could leave 10 feet, have 6 feet on this side, and they had 10 feet in the middle, so let's say 26 feet or whatever from the side of the house, you start really limiting the size that they can build.
Like,
And
Like
I-
going
and
back to
don't-
the-
I don't understand the point of saying you can build a 35-foot house, but yet we're gonna make it more restrictive for an accessory structure on the side lot. I don't think you're gaining anything, and I think your complaints about it's too close to my house, nobody's out there measuring and being like, oh yeah, it's a 13-foot, yeah, then it's 14-foot setback, that makes sense. No, they're gonna be mad that they're building a house there that's changing
so
their view.
we're talking about this area right here, right?
Well, and I think overall, I don't see what's gained by pushing that back anywhere.
I
You're
guess
gonna
I'm-
get the same amount of complaints, people are gonna be mad that
I
they're
guess I'm
building
not
something.
following though. That's, I don't know, Peter, if you can help me out to understand that. Or any of you guys, because no, you're doing a good job. I'm just not grasping the
Well,
concept yet.
obviously I'm not, if you aren't understanding. That's kind of the point. But because part of your goal of changing this and increasing the setback is, you said the majority of complaints come in because people say it's too close to their property line,
Gotcha.
right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Are they coming in and saying, oh, yeah, well, if it were 13 foot because it's a 14-foot structure and rather than at 12 feet, then I'm okay? I'm imagining that they're not doing that because they don't know in their minds what the difference that looks like. They're just mad that something's going up. And so I don't think you're addressing, I don't think you're going to change anything. People are going to be mad about that anyway.
Okay.
And I don't see why you would take away their ability to build a structure based off of that. I mean, you're not going to change that. People will still complain. If we take this away as a conditional use, you're not going to notice, and I don't think you should notice. I know that was one of the ideas. I don't think you should notice. I don't think you should do anything. That'll get rid of a lot of complaints because people are going to complain because they don't know what it's going to look like. And most of the time when it goes in, it doesn't
Sure.
change it that much anyway. So I don't think by making it more restrictive as you've laid it out here, that it makes any sense and is going to benefit anything other than restricting what the property owner can do on their property.
So
I think
will your
may flip
concern
the
be appeased if we leave it as how it is with the 10 and then cut it right there?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
I'm fine with it. That was just an idea. I mean, that's how the idea was, but I'm totally fine with it. If that's something that we want to do, that's just exactly what we have, just taking away the conditional use requirement, period.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
So-
I'm fine with that as well. This is an idea again.
I want you to pull up another address. How many
Okay.
guys? Just pull up 12 West Sienna Drive.
What is it again?
12 West, and then it's Sienna Drive, which is Siena. There you go. Okay, you can zoom in because there's all sorts of these buildings right there. So
Is
this,
this one right here?
that's mine, but zoom out just slightly.
Zoom out, okay.
Yeah, just out, because I want you across the street, this house right here.
That was too much, right?
That was a lot more than,
That was a little
that was
too
a
much.
lot more than slightly.
Tell me where, right there?
See this right here? See where he's at right there?
Yeah.
This
So-
one?
Yep.
Yeah.
So in his setback, I know what he is right here because I put his gate in. He's 12 feet, okay? That he's got right there.
Let's do it like this, okay.
There you go.
Will that be better?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's 12 feet where he can barely get by, but see how he's got a trailer there right now? That's what fits that. This is actually really nice. The reason this extends over is this is actually a covered like patio, but then he keeps his boat and stuff that he keeps inside here, right? But how we were talking about doing this, I'm assuming he's probably around 25, 26 feet on this. I've never measured it.
Of height?
Height, that would move that thing all the way out into here.
Yeah. If it's 25 feet, yeah.
Well, I mean, not really, right? Like, it would move it out
With-
to 16 feet.
Well, it'd move it 16 feet this way and 16 feet this way.
So if it's already
but
12
right
feet
now,
off
so yeah,
one
not all the
property,
way
It's
right
not
here.
12 feet.
This right here,
It's like more
this
like
right here
10.
right now is 10 feet.
Yeah, it's 10.
10 feet.
So it's
So
gonna
it
move
will
it
move
6
it,
feet and
it moves
6
6 feet, yeah, 6 feet this way.
But I
6 feet
think
that
he's
way.
5 right here in the back, right?
Impossible. No, if he's 25 feet, he
Or
cannot
is
be
it 10
5.
and 10?
Yeah,
You should be tenant.
10 and
Okay.
10.
I've never walked back behind there.
We'll say it's got a really, really thick eave on the back.
No, if he's 25, yeah, he has 10 and 10.
See, and I don't see the problem with that, why you'd need to move that out to like 16 and 16.
Which
You're
you will be,
6
yeah.
feet both
which,
directions,
which you will be, yeah, which you will be kind of like right here, based on
Yeah.
this.
Now zoom out just a little bit
Zoom
again,
more? Okay,
and we're gonna go up this way here.
So am I at the same place?
No, zoom out, not in.
I don't have my mouse, but.
Okay, so, right, we wanna look at this right here.
Okay, let me zoom into that one.
So see where that trailer is? That's sitting on a footing right now that's been there for about 12 years for that outbuilding, right? And he's gonna be 10 feet and 10 feet. And I sit there and in these scenarios and I start thinking if you start kicking these this way and that way, that I don't know if it, like what Todd's saying, I don't know if it's gonna eliminate the problems that people are complaining about. And I still think all it really does is it ends up messing up with this property.
Sure.
That's what I was gonna say.
Keep-
I think
keep
it
it-
takes our complaints to the other side, because as the homeowner, I think the homeowner comes and says, pushing me this way is taking away my backyard.
Well, keep in mind that otherwise it will be 3 feet right here. And just because he's going to 25, he now he's going to go to 10, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
it will be right here. So now he got he was requested or required to do 7 feet more because of that, if he goes to 25, right? So that's exactly the main theory. Do we actually gain something by pushing it from 3 feet to 10? I think so. And again, you were part of that, and it was a huge issue that was like suing left and right. Probably the worst planning commission you have ever had.
Yeah.
Correct? And I think, were you part of that one too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I've been here a
So,
long time.
do we gain much by pushing it 7 feet? I don't think so. Did it appease the applicant? For sure it did. For sure it did. Now, the idea of a staff is just keep the same, but if we want to keep it at 10, that's how we're doing it right now, and it seems to work. But again, if it goes at 18 feet, it will be right here, 3 feet. from property line.
Yeah, I mean, he's already put that in there, right?
Okay.
So he's not gonna go jack out the footings,
Sure.
and the concrete.
But we don't know how high that was gonna be, right?
No, but I'm sure he would,
No,
he
I-
probably figured it was gonna be,
But-
at the time, that's why he
but-
just went 10, right?
Got it. But again, the idea, they moved from 3 feet to 10 feet. They gained 7 foot to go from 18 to 25. Does it make a difference? On the eyes of the applicants, yeah, a little bit. At least they stopped the sewing to the city at that point. Are we gonna gain much by keep pushing it? Probably not.
Yeah, I think
Probably
you
not.
max
But that's
out.
following the same concept that we had around that meeting. So that was the idea.
And
Can
I'm-
we keep it as how it is? Yeah, sure. Sure. We can just go back to the table and, let's see, this is what we will do. Go back to this table, because I think it's better to have a table like this on how it was before, and then just right here, write 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, because that's how it is right now. And that's also a proposal, and that's what we're here for, to discuss proposals, right? The ideas that we have right now. Now, maybe you guys can give us a little more of insight what happened around that meeting and why do we went from 3 to 7? I mean, from 3 to 10, adding 7.
Yeah, that was one of the ones where the shade of, that was also about the style of the building as well, but, that it was going to shade an area that the neighbor gardened in and, was upset about, and I can understand
I
that,
can
right?
too.
If you
I can
get
appreciate
shade on
that.
your garden, you can't grow most things there anymore. But, yeah, I mean, you're balancing things, right? So I live in a neighborhood with much smaller lots, and so if someone was to build a 25-foot tall structure almost anywhere on their lot, it would probably be, you know, if it's on the, in my neighbors across the rear fence, it'd be shading a good chunk of my yard. So, but you're balancing the right of someone to build what they want on their property, and I would like the right to build what I want on my property versus the right of the neighbor to not be impacted by it. And
To determine the height of building.
I think the 10 feet is a reasonable
I agree.
compromise between those.
Yeah.
That gets you three big steps away from the fence. It's big enough that it's not gonna, I have a 3-foot area between my shed and my fence, and it's full of weeds because I don't go back there.
Exactly.
If it's 10 feet, you have to do something with it, I mean, you don't have
Put
to,
junk
but-
there.
Yeah, but, yeah, exactly.
It
That's
would
where
be a
you
bigger
put
weed garden.
your trailer full of old
I,
water heaters.
see, and I think there is a big difference between 3 feet and 10 feet. I don't think you get the same impact 10 to 16.
Yeah.
Fair
Listen,
enough.
I'm good leaving 10.
We always say in the fencing business that I'm in, that we hear the dirt of the neighborhood. We hear who hates whose dog, who hates whose trailer, whose shed, who doesn't want to see this anymore. That's why they want the fence, right? And so I see a lot of situations where it does end up being junk or things like that, and that's a big complaint. It's ironic about the garden, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I love it because there's shade here,
Yeah.
and I can be out there in the afternoon, right? But I think if you just go too
Depends on
far,
someone's
I like it
priorities.
just staying at 10.
That's
Once you get
perfect.
to 10.
So what we will do in this case is just, if that's the motion you guys want to do, when you said on the motion, you said that after 19 feet, from 19 to 25 feet, because the table got cut off right there, but from 19 to 25 feet, keep it a maximum of a 10-foot setback.
Daniel, I don't know if you know this or not, or have any statistics on this, but of all of them that come in, or maybe Riley's the right person to ask, like, how many of them are 25 feet? Like, or what is probably the average building being asked for?
That's a good question. I don't know if we have the right number.
25
We
is-
complicated
We
said
we
that.
can kind of think, 25 is rare, but we can kind
do you
of
think
think
it
back
is?
to how many we've seen as conditional use permits. and
Or 19, yeah.
It's a handful a year that are over 19.
Right.
I think last year we had about 8.
The majority of them are under
The
19.
majority are between 12 and 18. A lot of people are detoured by the conditional use permit and don't want to wait to go to the public hearing until they get their building permit. So they'll just lower the height and go ahead and do it. So we only have a few that actually require the conditional use permit
Well, you can
usually.
easily put a floor and a half, actually, without coming to the planning commission right now, right? You can do a floor and a half, something about that. You can fit a trailer there at 18, but once it kick, usually it's just for the people who wants to do like either a
Like an
big-
apartment or something,
yeah.
big loft.
Oh, yeah, loft, or like a garage at the bottom,
Mhm.
and then a home on the top, which it kind of kills to put a trailer, because now you're going way high. But yeah, something like that, for sure. It's for, that's why I put it 2-story. It's usually for people who wants to do 2 stories. Or, yeah, something like that.
Oh, good deal. This is a public hearing. And if anybody in the public has any comments, please feel free to comment
You have 3
on
people.
Wait.
YouTube.
And it,
We'll go ahead and open the public hearing, but right now, just so they can comment, but go ahead and,
okay, this is for the for the single family, and then the next item is similar. Staff proposes the same staggering. Let me show you the staff report right here, really quick, because it was exactly
And
the
they are,
same.
is this RR?
Now we're talking about the RR, as I mentioned, the chair is gonna do it together. Also, we keep the same staggering, but right now, yeah, so the setbacks are 20 feet and yeah, 20 feet instead of being 6, so now we ask for 20, okay? So, but it's exactly, in the motion will be exactly the same, because the proposal was to keep the staggering back, okay? Did that make sense right there? It's just the same, but if you guys want to change the motion, I imagine for both zones, or I don't know if you guys want to consider RR differently than single, that's up to you guys.
okay, we'll have the public hearing open for both items then, for item 3 and item 4, since they were presented together. But I think my,
He'll be right back.
Be right back, because we need you for, okay.
yeah. My inclination would be to make a motion and just eliminating the more restrictive setbacks,
In
going
both-
back to
in
what it
both
was
Zones?
in both, yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
I don't,
The conditional use requirement, right?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it would be, and it moves the language from the table up into a paragraph. Yeah, I like that, I like that a lot better.
That makes it a little more clarifying. So I like the language being there, but I would leave it at 10 feet for both zones.
Yep.
You know what, when we actually read the code, that's how it's written. So right here on setback, it says 10 feet and over, right? So when because that was done just before me. I don't
You
know
might,
how it was
I think you need to turn your microphone on.
I don't know how it was applied in the past exactly, but when I came to the city, I just say, hey, we're just gonna cap it at 10. I don't know if the intention was to keep going staggering as it was before, but it was me the first one that implemented that as a planner, and that I cap it at 10.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I think that's how it reads, though.
I mean, 10 feet and over, I look at that and think that they can do it up to 10 feet, but they can also set back as far as they want. So, I mean, if they want to put it in the middle of their backyard, I guess they can.
That is their choice. Are the comments just pouring in, Riley?
Let's make sure that we take 2 different motions for the 2 items.
Right, and we'll wait for Commissioner Clyde.
You have to.
Are there any comments, Riley? No? Okay.
There what?
There's 3 people watching us. Actually, 5 if you count Kara and Riley.
And sincerely, thank you for watching.
I know, right?
Those that are. We're glad you take an interest in
Thank you for participating.
what's going on in the city. Well then, I'll entertain a motion on these 2 items. Again, we'll need 2 separate motions for both item 3 and 4, so I'll entertain a motion on item 3 first.
I'll make a motion. Try to figure this out. I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendment. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. That's rural residential. 1 second. Yeah, I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendments to City Code Section 10-9B-7-F2, single-family residential height considerations for accessory structures, to modify the requirements for accessory structures taller than 18 feet, adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report with the following change: that the table be modified to require a setback of 10 feet for accessory structures between 19 and 25 feet tall.
I second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Still and a second from Commissioner Coombs. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for item number 4 now as well.
I can do that again.
Just
Please
do it again.
do.
I was going to say, do it again.
You're doing a great job.
Same thing. I mean, do it again.
I move the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the proposed amendments to City Code Section 10-9A-8-2A, rural residential height considerations for accessory structures, to modify the requirements for accessory structures taller than 18 feet, and adopting the exhibits, conditions, and findings of the staff report with the change to require a setback of 10 feet for accessory structures between 19 and 25 feet tall.
I second.
Fantastic. We have a motion for Commissioner Still, a second from Commissioner Coombs. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Good deal.
Chair,
Yes.
I'm gonna wait to do the other 2 items that were missing, the fences and the size, and then I'll take them all together to City Council. Or do you guys prefer me to take this one right now and just, is it okay?
Not
if I wait?
unless we have applicants that have been waiting for that to go through. If not, then I think it's fine to present it all at once.
Okay.
Applicant that's waiting on the fence, but I don't think we're gonna hear
Yeah,
that today
the
anyways.
fence is later
Yeah.
on anyway. But if there was somebody that was holding off on this decision for
Yeah.
these, then, okay.
Are we doing the fence and the, whatever, I can't remember what the other one was.
The
next-
size, the
Size.
size of it now.
Next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
June 9th.
Perfect.
Yep. Good deal. Moving along the agenda, we'll review and approve the minutes from the May 14th Planning Commission. And I just had one point of clarification. I may have been reading it wrong, but can we pull those up? You're doing great. So if we go to page 3, where we talk about conditional uses. So if we go to page 3, where we talk about,
You wanna turn it off?
That was kind of fun.
I think it was because I was playing the YouTube on my computer.
okay,
And then, yeah, the sound got turned on.
thank you for fixing that. Where we talk about the concerns of the neighbors with concerns were under the impression that the Planning Commission could not deny the application even if the neighbors were opposed to it. I don't think that reflects what we were actually talking about, because I think it's the opposite of what it says there.
So, yeah, it should be that they were under the impression the Planning Commission could deny the application if the neighbors were opposed to it. Right? Because,
Right.
as it turns out, we have a
can't
hard
for the
time
most
denying
part.
conditional use permits.
Yeah. And the next sentence too is odd. The commission could impose reasonable conditions, but the application should be approved unless the concerns cannot be mitigated. That doesn't reflect what we do. And I don't think that reflects the conversation that happened as well. It should say that we can impose reasonable conditions on the application. And probably just leave it at that. Yeah, with those changes, those are the only ones I had.
Where's the last one?
It's just the next sentence. The commission could impose reasonable conditions, but the application should be approved unless the concerns cannot be mitigated. It's just an awkward sentence. I don't think it reflects what was actually discussed.
Okay.
I think we could just leave it as the commission could impose reasonable conditions. And you could say, according to applicable law or applicable regulations, you know, as we can only impose reasonable conditions if they are within, Peter knows the verbiage better than I do, but general welfare, well-being,
Health, safety, and welfare, yeah.
Yeah. So. You can just delete after conditions for the rest of that sentence if you, okay. All right, good deal. All right. Yeah, but with those, that was all I had.
I wasn't here for that part, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
I will move that the commission approve the minutes from the May 14th meeting with Chair Fugel's changes.
Good deal. We have a motion by Commissioner Still and a second by Commissioner Clyde. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no other items.
Can I actually just bring up one thing for food for thought on the fence? After we had talked before, I came across a situation that I don't know why I hadn't thought about this, because we have this happen a lot. People put in these pickleball courts and basketball courts and stuff like that in their backyards. And, you know, the basketball is close to the fence line. And so we put up a lot of 10-foot black chain link, 12-foot black chain link right next to the property line. It's not on the property line. And I don't know if that is something that is even considered. I know that I ran into an issue in Springville where they can't put a 10-foot chain link within 3 feet of the property line. I know we don't have that here. I just wanted to throw that out if that is a concern in any aspect. We put screens like that, things like that to keep the balls in the backyard.
So is the concern about the height or about the material?
The height.
Both. The height?
Yeah, because if we were talking about fencing going above 6 feet, you know, right now you have got to get a conditional use permit, and changing that to 8 feet, which most situations are like an 8-foot privacy, and it's usually because of an elevation change or something like that, or they don't want to see a building.
Yep.
But we've been doing a lot. I even went to one today in Lehigh, and guy's got a basketball court, and the basketball keeps going over the 6-foot fence to the neighbor when it bounces off the rim. And so we put up 10-foot chain link along the edge, but like black coated chain link, like what you'd see around a tennis court. And they also, there's a product that we put up a lot that's a mesh. It's like a nylon mesh, almost like what you have for a soccer goal. Those are just bigger diamonds. And sometimes we'll hang those and things like that. And I don't know if that is something that needs to be considered or if that's something that's coming in. I don't think there's anything on
Attached
it.
to the actual fence?
Yeah, you can actually set chain link posts and you can put the mesh up
Right.
instead of chain link. I don't know if we have anything like that. The first time I've ever had pushback on one was in Springville.
If we have anything like that will stop from that type of things coming into the city? Is that the question?
The question is we're talking about this because technically you could do that on the fence, the property line, right? So we're saying that the staff can take care of anything up to an 8-foot tall fence, right?
Yeah,
But are we
don't care
considering
where
that
it
for
is.
something like a tennis court or a basketball
Yeah,
court
but
that's usually
I
50,
don't,
60 feet?
so I don't care what it is. It could be in the middle of your property. I don't have a problem with that. Or code doesn't stop you from doing that.
But if it went down the property line, are you going to require them to come in for a conditional use permit?
If you replaced your back fence with, a piece of your back fence with this stuff,
Because you could technically
But-
take a tennis court right to the property line and run 10-foot fence or 12-foot fence right down the property
Okay.
line.
Yeah,
So-
that's what I was gonna say. It's taller.
Yeah.
So that's the point. Can you go to 10 foot now without requiring a conditional use permit?
That's the
basic-
question. Are we going to do that
Well,
or not? And I'm not asking anybody to answer. I'm
It is
just
food for
saying
thought.
we need to
No,
think
no,
about that.
I'll answer, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so the proposal, or the last proposal that we had was to go from 6 to 8 as a permitted, from 8 to 10 as a conditional.
Right. But I want to
So
know,
are you
I want to
talking
know
about
if that's private, because privacy to me is way different than a chain link mesh next to
So
that.
the ones that you're talking about that you've already done, were they higher than 10 feet?
Oh, yeah, people do them all the time.
Yeah, see, that's what he's saying is, so he's got the fence, and then he puts something on top of it to stop balls from going
Gotcha.
into the neighbor's
So it would be
yard.
something taller than 10 feet.
Yes.
There's three
In some
scenarios.
ways,
There's one
yeah.
where it's not on the property line, there's already a 6-foot fence, and we come in 2 feet and go all the way up. There's another ones where we go right on the property line and just do a 10-foot chain link, and they're usually like only 50, 60 feet.
Would you guys rather finish the meeting and then we can talk that and we can draw something?
Yeah, I just wanted to have that, yeah, we can do that. I just wanted to put that out to the commissioners as we're talking
No, I'm
about this
glad you
before
did,
it comes
'cause I
up.
hadn't even thought of that. I
Yeah.
mean, I've seen those hundreds of times in homes
Yep.
I've shown and not even thought about it.
I've never had anybody complain about them, but we're talking about, I mean, if you put a 12-foot privacy fence, that to me is way different than if you put a 12-foot,
Right.
black chain link.
As a neighbor, I actually would be appreciative if they,
What's that?
as a neighbor, I'd be appreciative if they,
Oh,
You
Put
want
up
a
a-
12-foot privacy fence?
so.
not a
if-
12-foot
if
privacy
today-
fence, but like keeping the balls
so
on their
maybe
side
this
of the
will
fence.
answer your question, but if today someone comes to me
Yeah.
right now and say, hey, I'm gonna put
Basketball court.
I'm gonna put a
Tennis court.
fence, and my fence is gonna be 6 feet. That's how the code is right now. It's gonna be 6 feet, and then on top of that 6 feet, I'm gonna put a cage for my falcon.
Yeah.
Will I consider that as fence? No. That's not a fence, okay? Does that answer your question right now?
No,
No.
but I'll give you some scenarios. I know Lisa sees it, that's why she's talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
maybe
we'll
we can-
we'll
we
draw
can
some stuff out. We
something.
can end the
draw
meeting. I
something.
just wanted to
Sure.
bring it up for that.
That we're having troubles understanding today, but yeah, let's draw something.
Yeah.
And that's gonna help us out, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Peter
John.
seconded it.
We all second it.
And everyone
Done.
is in favor.
Yep.
We're
Good
gonna go
job.
see fireworks.
Okay.
Okay, let's go on that board. That board is gonna help.
Yeah, I can do that real quick.